Hello, hello, hello. Ty and I are here tonight, and it's been a long week off for Copa, so we are just gonna do a review of the month of May for you guys, and this is for the MLS shows series. So say, by the way, Ty is from the editor of Paramore Pundits. Say hello, Ty.
How's it going, everybody?
At this point, you guys hopefully have watched the last whatever 2 or 3 of these that we've done, and you know Ty by now, and you read his articles and stuff. So, but we'll get right in. Anyways, 5 games for Orlando City in May. We had 3 draws, which is okay because one of them was on the road. We had a win, and we had a terrible loss at Sporting Kansas City. To me, the Sporting Kansas City game really stands out. It was just a really bad performance by Orlando City. And the other game that kind of stands out to me is going away at New York City and getting a draw after being down. So just big picture stuff. That's how May was for me. I would consider it an okay month for the team. And it seemed like to me it was broken into 2 segments. So the first 2 games of the month were a draw and a really bad loss, and then we played that bundle of games. I think it was 3 in 8 days, and we got a win and 2 draws. So no complaints from me there at the end, and especially against New York when we're real shorthanded. So Ty, just generally before we go into the games, what are your thoughts?
I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to say it was an okay month. When you have 3 draws, a win and a loss, it's not terrible. Keep in mind the 2 draws we had were against number 1 and number 2. Number 1, Philly, and number 2, the New York Red Bulls in the Eastern Conference standings. And that's never a bad result when you draw the 2 of the top teams on the table. So, there were some moments we may have been able to play a little bit better, especially against the Sporting Kansas City. That's certainly going to be the game to forget this season. So, but that's okay. You're going to have one of them. You're going to have 2 of them. So, with that being said, I think it was an okay month.
All right, and you're gonna have to do the first game versus Red Bulls by yourself. We were at home. I was away that weekend in Jamaica getting married, so I didn't watch the game. I recorded it, and I just didn't get to watching it. And when I got back, it was already time for the next game, basically. So you can just go ahead and take the reins on that one.
Well, again, like I said, it was against second place now, the New York Red Bulls, and New York's a very good team. Obviously, the next week they win and they beat New York City on the road 7-0. So it's a very good draw to have. It was a 67th minute goal from Kevin Molino, and there was an earlier goal from Bradley Wright Phillips. Again, we played well. It wasn't a bad game. We held good possession throughout the game, if I'm not mistaken, and it was a tough draw. Could we have won the match? Sure, we absolutely could have. But at the end of the day, when you look back at the game as a whole, a 1-1 draw is fine. And Coach Heath was adamant about that after the match. It's when you're playing a tough team like the Red Bulls, you're going to have a result like that sometimes. And I was perfectly okay with a 1-1 draw.
All right, and then the second game of the month on the 16th, I believe, was to Sporting Kansas City, and where to start? This was just a totally rough game. We defensively, we were terrible. We gave up, I think, like almost 40 shots, and we almost set the MLS record. So that's really, really forgettable in my book. The goal was an own goal, I believe. So, we didn't have anything offensively going. Personally, the game was I tried to rewatch some of this game the next day, and it was just so bad I couldn't even rewatch it. So I just would like to get to the 3 games in 8 days at the end, because I feel like that's where most of this time is going to be spent. So if you want to bash or you want to say anything about Sporting Kansas City other than let's just forget it and move on, up to you.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely one of those let's forget it and move on. Sporting Kansas City was actually not in good form when they went into that match, and they were having a difficult time scoring going into the second half. We got the own goal. They scored an own goal, and we went up 1-0. And even being up 1-0 in the second half, you just felt it coming. You knew they were going to score just because of how heavy the pressure was from them. And when you give up 34 shots, chances are you're not going to win the match. But like I said, you're going to have games like that, and hopefully this is only going to be the one time this year where we performed that bad. We moved on from it. We played much better the next week. We got the victory next week against Montreal, so we'll leave that one in the past and move on from it.
All right, just segue right into Montreal, and I'll pick up after you.
So Montreal, Laren with another brace. It was actually a tough match. I didn't think we were going to win that match going into it because Montreal is a very, very good team. The game starts off. It was, by the way, with that match, especially the crowd was just absolutely fantastic. I believe there was north of 34,000 people there, and Camping World Stadium was just a rocking for that match. And the difficult part about that was Ignacio Piatti scored in the 3rd minute. And we had a terrible performance the week before against SKC. We go down in the 3rd minute against a very, very strong Montreal team, and we were able to overcome that. We played much better in the second half, and Laren scored a brace, and we left with a victory. And matches like that are important. They test your character as a team, and we were able to overcome, a shortcoming at the beginning of the match and get the victory.
I don't know. I'm really glad that you didn't. I let you go first, and you didn't take my talking points. So that makes me really happy. Because sometimes in the past you've done that to me, and I'm like, oh. So, but anyway, I thought the game changed. I thought what really changed the match in that game was the early defensive subs when we had Redding come on for Hines and we had Alston come on for Ramos. And the reason that I feel that way is because Piatti was just destroying Ramos, like just owned him and then he pulled up with, I think it was a hamstring. I could be wrong, right? A hamstring?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Yeah, and then Alston came in and he kind of put a steady foot, so to speak, defensively on Piatti on that right-hand side of our defense. And once the defense, and then Redding came in for Hines at minute 40, and I thought that the back line kind of shored up a little bit better after the defensive subs. And so obviously the Laren brace is what you write home about because it won us the game. And I'm always happy if Laren's scoring a brace, but what I thought really was the changing point of the game was the early defensive subs. So I hate to see players go out injured. With that said, when the defensive subs do come on early and change the game and we end up with 3 points, that's always a good night for me. So.
And I'll certainly go off of that. Normally, when you're having to sub 2 players off on the back line in the first half, it's like, here we go. This is not going to be good. But Redding came in. He did a great job. And Kevin Alston, I'll tell you what, Ramos, he's had some shaky moments. He was not good at all against Montreal. Piatti was, like you said, just lighting him up. And Alston comes in off the bench, and he's got he's a very, very strong player. He's a great bench player, and he played very well for New England when he was there. And that's actually the kind of performance you expect from him when he has to come in and in a short situation like that and help get a result. And that's what he did. He was very relaxed, very composed, and he was definitely professional out there on the pitch. And that speaks volumes to who he is as a player. So I think, like I said, I'll agree with you. Alston was probably, the man of the match, in my opinion, just because of how he handled Piatti and how well he played. Again, going down in the 3rd minute against Montreal is not easy, but, when you are able to overcome like that is just an absolute great result.
All right, and then we played a midweek game on a Wednesday versus Philadelphia, and we drew. And that in that game, Blake played good again as expected. Andre Blake's always good. I think that their defensive midfielder who scored it was terrible. It was, that guy shouldn't have scored. But, again, just for me, what changed this game again was the 68th minute subs when we brought on Molino and Baptista. And it's really hard for me to sit here and tell you guys that the subs are impacting, game in, game out subs impacting games, especially after some of the no subs and the lack of subs that we had earlier in the season. So, I almost am hesitant to say that it was, but when Molino came on in the 68th minute, he was by far the best player on the field for the end of the game. He scored the goal, and I think he helped set up the game winner. So Molino was my man of the match that week. I just that really stands out to me. Was Molino's 68th minute coming on, and he scored the goal. And we were down when they came on, and get a draw at home is always strong when you're down. So Ty, you want to tie up anything that you agree or disagree with?
Yeah, I was actually a little bit disappointed in this match, and I'll tell you why. Tranquilo Barretta is one who scored in the, I believe it was the 52nd minute, and he's an absolute fantastic player. He's the one who scored the free kick against us in the when we went up there and played them the first time. Molino comes in, he scores a goal. And by the way, Kevin Molino has been an absolute rock for us for the month of May. And begin with, he scored 3 times in 5 games, and he has really showed what a quality player is. And not only that, he showed what we were missing last year, and after he went down with the injury. So Beretta scores in the 54th minute, and then we score twice in 3 minutes, I believe it was. It was Molino and Laren who scored back to back, and just the confidence was there. Hey, we're going to do it again. We're going to get another 3 points. And at that point, if we would have won, we would have, if I'm not mistaken, been in second place. And then we gave up a 70th minute goal to, if I'm not mistaken, it was Ken Trivet. And those are, again, just the type of moments that test your will as a team. We were able to get a tie against the league leaders, and that's fine. That's great. We're okay with that. But that was just one match. I wish we could have closed that and got 3 points in.
Yeah, and those are 2 points that didn't switch it. Sorry, those are 2 points that might come back and haunt us at the end of the season, because there was a couple games last year at the beginning of the season where we just lost, DC in mind particularly, and at the end of the year we really needed that point or that 2 points or whatever we could have gotten. So at the end of the year, not getting all 3 points against Philadelphia might come back and bite us. I hope that it doesn't. But anyway, that brings us to NYCFC. We went on the road there, again on the short week, and we, always have, I guess, not the easiest time at NYCFC. So to get the draw away was there. They were up 2-0. I think they scored in like the 40th minute. Then I know Villa had a really nice goal from Pirlo assist in like 70, and we were down 2-0. And then Baptista scored at 72, and again Molino in 94 in the extra time, where they thought that the time they weren't going to get any more time, and they did a little whatever trying to kill it, and Molino just stuck with the play and scored. So I'm always happy to get a point at NYCFC. They have a funny field, so really anytime you can go there is nice. The Baptista sub again, I think, helped make a difference. Was this the game with Baptista and Kaká had the beautiful little 1-2 that led to the Laren goal?
I don't think. No.
Okay.
No.
All right. Well, that's just my general sentiment. You can go ahead.
So first, let's keep this in mind, is how important a draw was on the road in NYC. Because not only did we get 1 point, but we stopped NYC from getting 3. And that's very important when it comes to table. And New York City's in 4th place right now, and it's very, very tight in the Eastern Conference. So anytime you can go on the road in the Eastern Conference and keep the home team from getting 3 points and only getting 1 or 0, that's a great result. Let's keep in mind now, for this match in particular, we were missing 5 starters. And going down 2-0 when you're missing 5 starters, it's very easy just to roll over and take the result and go home for the Copa break. But we persevered like we do. We scored another very late goal, which is kind of an Orlando City thing, which is it just shows, again, the will and the character of this team. This team doesn't give up. And let's go back to that last play, when Kevin Molino scored. You have Carlos Rivas on the wing, and he's able to get the ball up into the final third, into the flank. And like I said, the match is pretty much over. I'm sitting there thinking it's over. I'm sure most people are. And he's able to cross one into the back post, where Kyle Laren, who's a very good goal scorer, just made such a great play. Instead of trying to head it to the back post or something and try to make some kind of unbelievable goal, he had the sense of mind real quick to head it back towards the top of the 6-yard box. And then Molino comes running in. He almost took a boot to the face from Baptista, who was trying to bicycle kick it in, and he was able to put it in off the crossbar. And it was just such a great play, and it kind of just showed a little bit of this chemistry that's building with this team. And again, I just can't mention enough, when you're missing 5 starters and you go on the road, go down 2-0, and you come back and you get the draw, that's just fantastic. And that was just a great result for our guys.
So even though we had a decent month, we're still, below the red line, which is never good. However, it is on goal differential, so it could be worse. It could be better. We're tied with DC at 16 points, and we have 2 games coming up in June. We are home to, 3 games if you count Open Cup. We're away at Jacksonville on the 15th. We are home to San Jose on the 18th, and home to Toronto on the 25th. So I think that personally, I think the Open Cup games are always huge. I think that's going to be our best way into CONCACAF's Champions League. That's just my personal feeling, and I think the game versus Toronto is probably a little bit bigger of a game than San Jose for June, just because you get the Eastern Conference opponent. What is you have any just a touch of feelings going into June and to conclude the video?
Yeah, I think nothing to conclude with June. I think the U.S. Open Cup, like you mentioned, is very, very important for us. Or I'm sorry, with May. With June, I'll talk about it a little bit. With the U.S. Open Cup, it's very, very important, especially we're going on the road to Jacksonville, and they're an in-state. I don't want to say rival because we've only played them once, so not a rival, but it's going to be a highly contested match. And last year in our first game, we went to Charleston, and we had to beat them in penalties. And I'd hate to have to see us go to Jacksonville and beat them on penalties. I'd like us to win in 90 minutes and play a strong game, and I hope Coach Heath puts in a pretty strong lineup, which I'm sure he will. So that's, like you said, very important to get to CONCACAF Champions League. I think we should go in and get a pretty good result. Toronto will be a big match, as you know, and the one thing I want to mention is I do think we need to start sooner rather than later, start seeing more wins and ties. Coach Heath said before the season, and he said before, if you can average 2 points a game, you're in good standing. And he's absolutely right. But when we look back at May, we played 5 matches and we ended up with 6 points. That's, it's okay. I mean, but it's not great. And we have
1.2 points per game.
Yeah. So we need to do better than that. And I'm sure we will. But if we want to make the playoffs, every game now counts just as much as every game in September and the beginning of October. So we need to start seeing the victories start rolling in now.
All right. Well, I'm Sam, and I'm OC Lions fan _TV on Twitter, OCLionsFan.com. And Ty, you want to tell everybody how they can find you?
I am Ty. You can visit my website, ParamorePundits.com. And if you'd like to follow me on Twitter, it's at ParPundits.
All right. Do you have anything else you want to touch up on before we go?
I think we are good.
All right. Well, we got Ty out of the hospital, so hopefully he doesn't have to go back. I hope you feel better, brother. And that is all for our time. So thank you for your guys' time. I hope you enjoyed mine and Ty's monthly review. Peace out.